Hi everyone, welcome back. It is Rachel here with Dark Knight Coaching. I am going to discuss a few things with you today, but the primary focus here is going to be the root chakra. So in the last video, I went over kind of the basic 7 main chakras. This video is specifically tied to the root chakra, which is basically at your perineum area at the base of your spine. This is going to be tied to the earth because the first 4 chakras are all tied to the elemental functions of earth, which is earth, air, water, fire. So all of the baryonic or tangible elements, you could say, are tied to those first 4 chakras. So in order to elevate yourself to the higher level chakras, such as, the throat, the third eye, the crown, with the spiritual awakening, basically really tapping into the collective consciousness, you have to first balance out the 4 lower chakras. So you're basically, with the root here, we're setting a very solid foundation of stability, essentially. So the root is vital. It is one of the most important signs. The sound for this chakra is Lam. So if you want to meditate, if you're into that, you can say Lam, Lam, while during your meditation process, and that's supposed to really help ground you as well. With the root chakra, it is, symbolized by the red color. So you might see lots of crystals that are red. I brought a couple props with me, which is that one's carnelian. This is also carnelian, which comes in a lot of different flavors, sizes, shapes, those sort of things. There's also types of jewelry you can wear. This is a Merkaba, which is type 2 Jewish traditions typically, but it's sacred geometry essentially. So if you're not into theology or religion, just ignore that. But there are plenty of different stones and crystals that you could use to help ground yourself. Another way to really balance out your root chakra is to walk outside in nature, especially barefoot, because we are basically walking batteries. So if you think about energy, grounding yourself in Gaia and Mother Earth is a great way to have more stability. It may seem a little silly at first, but basically, even if you just spend about 5 minutes a day grounding yourself out in nature, it will help you basically shed any negative energy that you're carrying. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Just because you can visualize sending out any negative energy that's not yours out through the ground, or anything that you're carrying that seems a little heavy, you can visualize yourself ridding yourself of that. To the ground essentially too. So if you've ever seen the movie Avatar, which is a very popular James Cameron film, that's a great reference with those avatars in the movie. If you watch them during the movie, you'll see how their footprints basically have this energetic print, and that's essentially what we have as well. We just cannot see it typically with the average human eye. So every time we take a step, especially on the bare ground, the grass, the dirt, whatever, it is grounding ourselves because we are batteries walking in that energy. So a lot of the times when we walk around, our shoes are typically made of rubber, and that acts as a barrier because rubber is not grounding. So think of electricity and lightning. Like, the first thing most people tell you to do if it's lightning is like get on rubber, or something like that, because it acts as a spacer for your energy there. So the root chakra is all about survival. It's all about stability. It's all about vitality and security. If you're feeling grounded, you're typically in a stable, healthy, optimistic place. You have optimal health. You're, eating and functioning and exercising fairly regularly. If you're feeling ungrounded and your root is out of balance, you're probably feeling like insecure, maybe a little financially unstable, can't keep a job sort of vibe. You might have a lot of fears that you're living in, and that closes those fears. Those things usually close your chakras, and they don't spin like they're supposed to. With your root chakra being out of balance, you might also be like overeating or undereating. It's two sides of the same coin there, essentially. So, helpful things to get yourself in a primal, optimal health condition, an optimal energetic condition, it's really going basically down to back to brass tacks. Like you're going to kind of make sure you're setting a solid foundation for yourself. And this is emotionally, this is physically, this is basically all aspects of your life. So with the root chakra, this is your it's really your it's the whole foundation of the base of the pyramid here. So this is like your shelter, your nourishment, your security, essentially. And when those things are out of balance or out of whack, that could be due to childhood traumas, that could be due to losing a job, losing a family member, losing a loved one, grief of those sorts. Those can all throw your chakras out of whack, out of balance. So it's very, very important to really hone in and focus on your root chakra first, which is why typically they call it the first chakra, because it is setting the foundation for the rest of the chakras. So helpful things for if you're in a grieving period of time, if you're going through a dark night of the soul and everything just seems really wacky and just like off kilter. Walking in nature, walking barefoot is number one. A lot of the time you'll read things about people hugging trees from the 60s, which sounds very, hippie trippy, but it is actually very it can be very grounding as well, because trees have roots deep in the earth, and as we are all energetic beings, we can kind of tap into that. So if you've ever seen pictures of that, like with the protests and people hugging trees, it's for a valid reason. So the tree huggers were actually onto something there. So go hug a tree if you know want. But there are other ways to balance your root chakra without having to publicly do that. So you can walk barefoot in your own yard. You can walk barefoot at the park, like do your thing. You can do yoga practices. There are breathing practices that you can do. There's something called Wim Hof that is very helpful. There's a lot of training that goes into that. There's also something called box breathing that can help you lessen anxiety and things of that nature. Again, visualization is a very key component here. Even if you are outside walking barefoot, if you can, or if you're just meditating, if you can visualize like a red light source coming into your body from your crown chakra and going out through your whole body, just encompassing yourself, visualization can do wonders. It's almost just like setting the intentions of like, okay, I'm going to focus and I'm going to ground myself and help, you ask a god if you believe in that, or spirit, or whatever it is that you're talking to, if you want to talk to someone, or just talk to the wind and just say, hey, like, help me, please help me ground myself, help me rid myself of any negative energy, anything that's not serving me, help me release it. And you can release that back into the earth or into the ether. And that can be, if you make it a regular practice, that can be actually very helpful, especially if you are getting a shower or getting in the bath and you want to let go of any negative energy that you feel like you've held on to throughout your day. You can just kind of visualize that as well, like the water is washing over you and ridding yourself of anything that's not serving you. So um, let's see, I talked about crystal. I'm going to get into depth more on crystals, so there will probably be another video coming, just because there's so much to say about these. Like I have crystals you can wear, you can, get crystal jewelry, there's copper jewelry, there's rings, there's all sorts of things. Carnelian is especially tied to past life memory recall. If you believe in past lives, that can be helpful. There are crystals that you can get that are infused with copper and resin. Those are also supposed to be helpful to cleanse any negative energy that you're carrying. A lot of us carry negative energy in our root, stemming from childhood typically, and that can cause a lot of issues in the long term that we don't even realize. So everything is an energy exchange, just starting from when we're born. you know, from our parents, from our siblings, all of that, whoever our caretakers are, everything is energy. So every single moment of your life has imprinted on your auric body, which is basically like your auric field, and it's also imprinted on your chakras. So you might have blocks, you might be overly open without even realizing it. And as you go along this process of learning about your chakras and trying to attune yourself, eventually, if you've really done a lot of inner healing and inner work, you'll get to a point where you can feel if you're out of balance or if you're in some sort of disharmony. And there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of different modalities that I will walk you through that will help you get to a state of stability and groundedness. And there's also another tool you can use is sage. I have sage in a spray, I have sage in incense form, and I also have like some sage smudge sticks. So basically, if you decide to do that and you're trying to cleanse yourself of any negativity, you can also go around your home and sage. You can basically set an intention. So anytime you're going to meditate, anytime you're going to walk in the grass, anytime you're going to do some sort of breathing exercise, I want you to set an intention on, you know, what is the purpose in doing this right now? What do I feel like I need to let go of? What do I feel like I need to release? And make sure you're consciously aware of the purpose. Because if there's no purpose and you're just like, oh, I'm walking barefoot, that's great, that's fine, it will help. But I find personally that if I set an intention, it gives me more, almost like a predictability, and it creates what I'm doing to be more consistent and more habit forming versus just something I'm going to kind of lose over time. So if you're trying to set new parameters for health and wellness and stability and groundedness, it basically is a lifestyle change is what we're trying to shift here. So a lot of people think, oh, you know, I'll have the green juice and it'll make me feel better, but it won't if you only do it, you know, once a week and then you go eat fast food for the remainder. It's not really going to make an impact like you think it will. And it's kind of the same thing for meditation, for yoga. Those kind of practices need to be a kind of regular habit formed thing. And most habits are not formed until 90 days. So if you're trying to build habits, 90 days is pretty typical by the time a habit is built. There's also something called flame gazing or flame watching. That's more tied into the third eye, which I'll get into that on the third eye video. But that's pretty much all I have for you when it comes to your root chakra. It's all about stability. There's a lot of different tools you can use to see if you're aligned as well. I have an oracle set which is tied to chakras, so each color goes through each chakra there, and if you're into divination, you can really tap into that. Another thing that I highly recommend, not only with eating healthy and fruits and vegetables and finding a nice balance there, is Reiki. Reiki is an energetic healing process. So if you can find a Reiki master, there's a couple websites you could go to. If you have a question about a website, just leave a comment and I can find a link, just a general one. But Reiki healing is kind of like going to the gym. So when you get into this root chakra, all of these other chakras, this is basically like you signing up for a spiritual gym membership. So it's essential that you commit, because it's a long process. Like that is, you're not going to receive results the day you do, you know, one barefoot walk. You're not going to feel results when you do 3 barefoot walks a week probably either. This is kind of like, again, it's going to the gym. You work out once and you're not going to see like huge biceps. It doesn't happen that way. It's the same thing with your energetic body. It's going to be like putting in the time and effort, and then eventually you're going to feel the difference. So, but the root chakra is your survival, stability, vitality, security. So it needs to be kind of your baseline to start, and then everything is literally up from there. So the next video I am going to talk about is going to be focused on the sacral, which is kind of your pleasure centers. It is the orange chakra. So I will see you over there.